Hi everybody, welcome down to the channel. My name is Andy Carter, and today's video we're talking the chicken wing, and this is a very common lesson for me, and actually it's very relevant to some of the lessons I've been giving very recent to a guy I've had over from Russia. We've done intensive coaching for 2 hours a day for 14 days, a complete beginner. Took him on the golf course over the last couple of sessions, and the results have been amazing. And to tell you where he was at the start, obviously as a beginner, I think he'd played a couple of times in a simulator back in Russia, but never really been on a golf course before. And one of the key issues, he picked up the swing quite well actually. He's got a good kind of sporting background, but he really struggled to square the club face off, really struggled to release the club face through impact, and also really struggled to get the body kind of in sync with the arms and the club face as well. And we did a little TrackMan session, particularly on the driver, and everything was kind of 14 to 15 degrees to the right with the club face, and his swing path was around about, let's say, -1 to +2. He was very consistent with how he was delivering the club to the ball, but he just could not square the face up. So this tip I'm giving you today is very much, I almost should thank him, because the tip worked and I got direct results from him live. And this is why I want to bring this information to you guys. And hopefully, if you are struggling with releasing the club face or the chicken wing through impact, is what we all, just the terminology we always kind of resort to with this shot, then this is the tip for you. So to get straight into this, we're going to be talking about what causes the chicken wing. So first of all, why does the lead elbow feel the need to poke up towards the target like this? Why? What happens in the golf swing to create that? And first things first is it generally doesn't mean the body's matched up to the club. So if I look at my club, if I look at the butt of my club, it's now pointing to the left side of my body, obviously for right-handed golfers. However, I want the butt of the club to point more towards my chest. Automatically, look what's just happened. As I've turned through, following the club with my body, the butt of the club is pointing back at my chest, and as a result, look at my lead elbow. My lead elbow is now down. So this is one of the main things I want to be talking about, is what the relationship is between the body and the actual club itself. So as I'm rotating, as I'm starting off, I should say, the butt of the club is pointing at my belly button, okay? Taking my setup. As I start to do my takeaway into maybe around about waist height, I've turned my shoulders, I've turned my chest, and I've turned my club as well. And the butt of the club is pretty much in and around, give or take, pointing at my belly button. I go up to the top of the backswing, and what I see golfers do now, and Oleg was in the exact same position. He was in a great position to here. Butt of the club pretty much pointing back at the chest. But then as he started to come back through, he dragged the butt of the club, dragged the handle to the left. As the handle was dragging to the left, you'll notice now that the handle is now pointing to the left side of my body. As a result of that, the hands are forward, the club face is naturally open. My left elbow, at some point now, can't stay straight, so it bends, okay? So my left elbow comes up, and I get into this position. As my left elbow bends, my wrists now bend in the wrong way. They do this, and the wrist should never do this in the golf swing. The wrists only ever hinge up and down. So when I'm making a golf swing, as my club comes back down, the release of the club is basically the unhinging of my hands down into the back of the ball. And then as I come through the ball and rotate my body, the hinge kind of rehinges on the way through the ball, and the butt of the club and the shaft of the club goes a little bit more vertical on the way through. But just before doing that, it was pointing back at my body. So a great drill for this, and first of all, just explaining to him that the butt of the club needs to try and point at the stomach for waist height, down to impact, and back through waist height was a really good feel aspect. It was a really good technical aspect for him to try and gauge as he started to go through, because he could keep looking at the butt of the club and he was just kind of following it with his eyes and with his chest, making sure that everything just kind of rotates through together. So he was able to start to build a bit of feel just by using one hand and just allowing that right wrist to start to release the club back down, to then release the club up back through impact as well, again with the butt of the club pointing here. Well, I often see golfers they try and steer the ball down the fairway, so you know that the club has started straight here, and we try and deliver the club straight. We neglect the rotation of the body, and the arms then just get past the body. The butt of the club gets past the body, the elbow has to break at one point, and we get to there. So what we want to try and do, and a great little drill for this, is just swinging the club to waist height, get the chest and the hips pointing at the butt of the club as well. You're going to rotate back to impact, butt of the club pointing at the chest or the belly button again as you come through, and then back up again. So we're just going to hit a couple of little swings as we go back and through there. And what you'll find on that particular shot is, as I've swung through, turn the body, the butt of the club points back at my belly button, club has worked itself back up higher than my hands, so I've got that hinge again. It's not worked left, so my hands don't work in that direction. The butt of the club has worked back up again, my elbow is now bent in. So if my wrists bend up, my elbows bend in. If my wrists bend left, that could also happen, okay? We don't want to see that in the golf swing, okay? So that's a really, really important aspect, that the wrists start to hinge the club upwards, the butt of the club points back to the stomach, and as we go back through, we get that hinge on the way through again. And once we get that hinge on the way through again, the elbow starts to point down. I've got to be honest as well, I think in the golf swing it's very important, it's key for you to be able to understand the movements, but it's also important to be able to figure them out as well. Once you understood the technical of it, this is quite a complex area of the golf swing, so don't forget, this is the fastest point of the golf swing. Now, the way you release the golf club will definitely give you better ball striking, because the hands are now releasing the club down into the ball. They're also releasing the last little bit of power, velocity through the ball, which is going to give you a little bit more ball speed, which will also give you more distance. So the releasing of the club is not just to get rid of this horrible looking chicken wing, but it's also to improve your ball striking. When you improve your ball striking, you obviously get more distance, add speed into that equation as well, and you get more distance again. So I'm looking at this from a purely ball striking perspective, but there's so many more possibilities, so much more improvements to come from just being able to do this movement. So one of the things I always try and talk about as well is left arm straight at setup, go into the L position here, so we've got the wrist hinges up. As I swing back down, go and try and make the L position on the right hand. So we don't want to kind of release it too early, because then that right arm will be straight too soon. The right arm will generally get straight just after here, as you've hit the ball, okay? So approximately a club length or so after you've hit the ball, the right arm will start to get straight, and then we'll start to hinge the club back up through impact. So we're creating the L to L position, and once the wrists are working correctly and releasing the club up and down correctly, this left elbow will stay in. The ball flight will be a lot straighter, and the ball striking will be a lot more consistent. All right, so actually not a great view for the sun, so I apologise, but I wanted you to see the front on view as well, just so you can kind of get an indication of how the arms are working, how that release is working down into the golf ball as my lower body rotates with the club and works itself back up. So we're creating the L to L position. I'm concentrating on keeping the butt of the club in towards my stomach as I start to make these movements. And I like to do a lot of practice swings of this and just try and gain some momentum and try and gain some rhythm of the rotation, the relationship of the rotation between my shoulders, my hips, and really my wrist angles as they start to work up and down. There's many videos I've done so far talking about the angle of the shaft and how the club should be delivered into the ball. But most importantly, if we release this club correctly, the quality of ball striking that comes from the back of that is absolutely vital. So if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. Also click the bell for notifications. Lots and lots of content coming from the channel. Got 15 to 20 European Tour players in the academy this week, preparing for the Abu Dhabi Championship. So I'm hoping to get some videos with those guys as well. But to finish this video off, one more shot, making sure the club releases down. This left elbow tucks in quite nicely. and the ball striking's nice, the flight's nice, and we're happy with the shot. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please do subscribe to the channel. I'll see you again very, very soon.